Ah, whew. That skeleton fight really took it out of him. Hello everyone, I'm Father Aaron. Welcome to
The Dungeon Minister!
You know what, I'm tired of making terrain. Let's get back to doing recaps. You may remember that our heroes, having spent a good deal of time gadding about in the north, killing dragons right, left, and center, have returned to find that Honeywood is occupied, Kilmarnock has fallen, Bargle and the Baron of Comoik seem to be in the ascendant, the Baron having left his son Gorak on the seat at Kilmarnock, and the Count holed up in the ruined keep on the Northern Sea. If you want more details, there's a couple of videos that you can go watch. You can go do that now, I'll wait.
2 hours later.
You're back. Excellent. Well, having watched all of that, you will understand why the mood at the keep is somber. The Count's troops have been decimated, and I really mean 1/10 of his troops gone. Actually, slightly over 1/10. And the mood is very, very grim. Grim and nervous. They are worried that they might be found here, and if they are found, yeesh. They do put in some contingencies for escape. They make sure there is a boat available. One is brought up from Honeywood. How's the Count getting information in and out of Honeywood? Well, a boat is brought up and left at the dock, large enough to take some soldiers away. You know, getting a ship big enough to take 100, well, 90 now, people away, that is just not going to happen. But they have some capacity to transport maybe about 20 away, and maybe the rest can melt off into the woods, maybe, who knows, who knows. A keep is a difficult thing to take, but this keep was never totally finished, so it's really not terribly defensible. Anyhow, the Heroes of Honeywood do spend some time there at the keep, regaining hit points from their fight with the skeletons, and while they're there, they are privy to some of these plans being made. And then one day, a visitor comes. A visitor whom they know, they recognize, and whose appearance clears up the mystery of how the Count is communicating with Honeywood when we know that it is occupied by Gorak's troops. The visitor? Alonur. Alonur, the daughter of the mayor, now just turned 15, she has taken on the very grown-up responsibility of being the Count's primary eyes and ears inside the walls. Because she's so young, she is overlooked by the troops that are occupying the village. They don't really pay much heed. She's a kid, you know, she's still a scrawny kid. They don't pay much attention. And because she is the mayor's daughter, it makes sense that she's close to power, that she's close to the events that are happening. The mayor has been kept as a sort of puppet of the village, so he's still around. So it makes sense that she's close to all of these things, and she can observe. Then she goes and she visits a friend whose backyard happens to be kind of secluded, lots of trees around. And there she dons her feather cloak, transforms into a swan, and flies off to meet the Count, and to let him know what's happening and to bring any messages back. Well, what has she brought today? She brings news that her father is worried, terribly worried. The troops in the town have begun expressing an interest in Sulex's tower. Remember, Sulex had a tower in the village. He did not build it. He was not high enough level to be authorized to build, but there was an existing tower there, one that had been there for a long while. A previous magic user had built it, and he just occupied it. He was in that tower a lot, studying something very carefully, and in fact, after his death, the Sodality of Wizards sent up a group to investigate the tower, to clean it out of all of its magical articles, and to take possession of whatever it was Sulex was working on. They spent some time there, but they were not successful. They did not find what they were looking for. They had expressed frustration while in the pub. You may remember an overheard conversation in this episode, during which the fabulous Battlein Barrow provided the voice of the lead wizard.
What?
Anyhow, the mayor is convinced that the soldiers know about the contents of the tower, or they know that there's something in there, because they are trying very hard to get in. But when the sodality left, a wizard locked the doors. There is a ground level door into the tower, and there is a door that leads to the top, right? If you go up to the top of the tower, you can get up, among the battlements up on the roof. You can get up there, and so there's a door there. They are both wizard locked, and there are no magic users in the village. So they are anticipating one will be sent up from Kilmarnock. The mayor wants that tower cleared out before that wizard arrives. He does not want whatever is in the tower to fall into the hands of Bargle and Gorak and the Baron of Camoik. Whatever it is, Sulex was intent on it, and the mayor is convinced that it could be important. The fact that the tower was tightly sealed up when the sodality left just makes it more suspicious. What is in there? Could the Heroes of Honeywood find out? Potentially. First, however, they're going to have to get in to Honeywood, right? And Gorak's troops know what they look like. Bargle has a very clear idea that there are 2 elves, a halfling, and a human woman opposing him. And so there is a description of these 4. They travel together. It's 2 elves, a halfling, and a human woman, even down to the details that the woman carries a bow with dragon heads on the ends of it, that one of the elves wears dragon scale armor, the other one carries a battle axe, and the halfling has a very, very short temper and a fondness for fire. So they can't just walk up to the gate and stroll in. How are they going to get into the village? The Festival of Erok is coming up. What is Erok, I hear you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Erok is the spring planting festival. I'm starting to layer in some of the culture of this world. We started very basic, because again, I thought we would play maybe 3 games tops. So I'm beginning to layer in the culture of the world. A little late, but here it comes. And this is one of them, the Spring Planting Festival. During this time, there are great processions, religious processions, but there's also a carnival atmosphere. There's a festival atmosphere. Dunking tanks and kissing booths and axe-throwing contests and whatnot, archery contests, all that kind of stuff. And merchants come in to sell their wares, including, of course, farmers who bring seeds. Farmers who grow seed plants, not for eating, but just for planting. They bring those in, and all sorts of things get sold in the village during this time. Fabulous. All sorts of people are going to be arriving. It's going to be big crowds. They can slip in then, but they do need to be disguised because, again, 2 elves, a halfling, and a human woman traveling together, red flags. How are we going to do it? Well, elves don't have beards. We'll make you some fake beards. Okay, fake beards. How about the halfling, and how about faux fire? Well, halflings look a lot like children. You are her son. They decide that Touchberry is going to be Faux Fire's son. Which, of course, the players actually... Anyway, so they're going to make this ruse, and we'll say that you're farmers. The 2 elves will arrive separately. We'll break the group up. We'll arrive separately, plan a place to meet, right? This is where we're going to be. Alonur will be there to help, because she can go into the village and very plainly, openly walk around. It would make sense that she would know some of the farmers and the traders who regularly show up, so she can greet them and subtly give them a clue of where to meet. All right. How are we going to get our stuff in? We have to get our gear in. You can't arrive wearing armor, that kit, right? And you can't just throw a cloak over it. That's not going to work. Not with plate mail, especially. The leather armor, maybe you could wear that under a tunic, but not the plate mail. We're going to need something big to bring in. Why don't we bring it in a wagon? Okay. Well, then Faux Fire and Touchberry, they're coming in with a wagon, and the 2 elves will come in as lone traders on foot. What do you trade in? Bob Johnny decides that he is a parchment buyer and seller. No, vellum. Vellum sheepskin. And Fleetwood. Fleetwood is looking for fleece. And Fofire and Touchberry, they will be shepherds. They'll be coming in from the east gate where all of the shepherds are. All of the sheep farms are out that way. So they're going to come in that way with a wagon loaded with fleece, of course. Oh, where are we going to get the fleece? If only there was a shepherd that they had helped out, that they had done something for, oh, of course. Back when they fought Balamorg. When they fought Balamorg, they were going to investigate what everyone thought were wolf or werewolf attacks, and they talked to a shepherd whose sheep had been killed, and they drove off. They killed the dragon. They solved the problem. That shepherd might be inclined to help them. All right, there's the shaping of a plan. How do we make these beards? Well, so some of Count Cormac's men will cut their hair, right, and use the hair to make fake beards. They're not hugely convincing, but in a crowd of people going in and out, it will probably be enough to pass. It's probably going to be enough. All right, great. So they load themselves up. Fleetwood equips himself with all sorts of packs that he would load fleece into, and fleece being relatively light, you could load up a pack with it. You know, we're not talking about the skins, just the wool itself. He could load a pack with that and go in and out. And Bob Johnny gets his bags and backpacks, and he's going to be looking for vellum, for sheepskin. So they start making up stories. And let's see. Bob Johnny says his name is John Easton. And Fleetwood is Mark Tratter. Those actually might be flipped. It might be Bob Johnny is Mark Tratter and Fleetwood is John Easton. I don't remember. Touchberry says his name is Henry. And Fofire is Dagmar Olmsted. Dagmar Olmsted. And they set off down the road, the old keep road, disused and overgrown. They set off down that road on their way to the main road, which will take them into Honeywood. Of course, before any of this, before they depart, Alonur tells them that she will secure a spot for their cart where they will be set up to sell. She will find the spot, and she will watch for them coming in the east gate, and she will take them to that spot. So the cart is in the right place. The two elves know to delay their arrival until after they assume the cart is in. All right, so they start off down that road. Now, of course, they're all on foot at this point, and they pick their way down toward the main road. As they get near, night is falling because they didn't set off first thing in the morning, and they can see ahead of them a light. Campfire. Alonur did warn them that the roads are being watched, and here, at the curve of the road that comes from Kilmarnock into Honeywood, just around the curve, so anyone approaching would not necessarily see it, there is a blockade, there is a checkpoint, and a number of Gorak's soldiers are there, sitting around the fire, talking, swapping stories, but watching the road carefully. They are not watching the road behind them that goes up to the keep. It's overgrown. No one's coming that way, obviously, right? And if someone does, they'll see them, because they're well positioned right at the junction. How are we going to get past them? They lurk there watching for a while to see, what happens, how many. Do they leave at nightfall? Those kinds of things. They don't. As the night completely sets in, they stay there. And as the night completely sets in, bang! A giant rattlesnake attacks them. Did you jump? They did. At any rate, this giant rattlesnake comes lurching at them from behind and strikes. Who does it strike? It strikes Touchberry. It strikes Touchberry, and it does hit, because he's not wearing his armor. Remember, they've taken the armor off, so he's much easier to hit. And so he's got to make a save versus poison. Fortunately, halflings have a dead easy time making a save versus poison. It's like 6. He has to get a 6 or higher. He has no problem. And instead of fighting the thing and raising a big ruckus, they have to dig their weapons out. At any rate, Bob Johnny turns and uses his ring of animal control and sends it off into the woods. Whew. Good thing he remembered he had it this time. Now, Night having set in, they are curious about what's happening at that fire, and they figure this would be a good time to scout. And so Touchberry, remember halflings have an extra advantage hiding in the woods, Touchberry heads out. Now there is a roll for this, right? And it's dead easy for him. 9 out of 10, and he's not seen. But you get a 91, and you're spotted. So what are the dice going to say? Whoa, 88. That close. That close. But he is not seen. He sneaks closer, he sneaks up, and he counts them, and there's way more. There's like a dozen guys here. There's way more than they can handle. And they don't want to raise attention, right? Because if any attention is raised, then it's known that something's in the area. The town, the village will close down. The festival will be off, right? You don't want to be killing people just before a festival. It'll ruin everything. So what are we going to do? They decide they're going to off-road it. They're not going down to the road. They will cut through that point of the woods, rejoin the road later, and move on their way. So they will make camp. They go actually a little further north, pull away from the checkpoint to make camp. They don't light a very big fire, just a very small one, and they spend the rest of the night there. Another random encounter roll. Oh. It is during Bob Johnny's watch when he sees glowing spots lurching out of the darkness, a sort of lurching, humping movement. It's fire beetles. Giant fire beetles have seen and detected that there's life there, and they've come to feast upon it. Fortunately, fire beetles, not a big challenge for the party. They now feel that they are far enough away from the soldiers, so they go ahead and they fight them. It's not even a contest. It's not even a contest. They do avoid using lightning bolt, because that would probably be seen and heard, but magic missile, boom, 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 not a problem. The next day, they put into effect their plan of cutting through the forest, and actually, as they go, they say, you know what, let's not go down to the road. If we go down to the road, we're heading to the east. We'd have to get around the village somehow. Not worth it. Let's just stay in the woods and cross in the woods. So that does mean more random encounter rolls, because they're deep in the forest. And indeed, another random encounter comes up. It comes up as they are crossing the river. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, if you've seen a lot of the episodes, you might remember that one time, as they were going up the river in a boat, they encountered some sprites. Sprites. And it happens again. Really what happened is I rolled a random encounter, and I looked at the map and I thought, oh, it's too perfect. So tinkling laughter comes down from the treetops. Now, the players have learned that sprites are not malevolent. They are not evil. They're, mischievous. They're silly. Just let them be silly. And so they engage with him in pleasant conversation. Oh, what's going on, my friends? And the sprites respond with their traditional humor.
Bob Johnny and Fleetwood, your beards are so thick. Why are they on your face? How do they stick?
And they laugh and they giggle. And Touchberry gets a little short with them, and they make fun of him,
Oh, little Touchberry, such a child. You used to be fierce, but now you are mild.
He's getting all angry at them. Calm down, calm down. They like to play tricks. The sprites hear this.
Tricks, you say? Well, that would be fun. I've an idea for a very good one.
Poof! Their disguises fall off. The beards just drop. Oh no, we got it. I have a beard. I still have a beard. The sprites, as a trick, have made Bob, Johnny, and Fleetwood look like they were trying to look. They actually give them a real beard and make them look like humans rather than elves. And Touchberry looks like a little kid. Looks like a little kid. This does not impress Touchberry, but he looks like a child. It's gonna work. He's not pleased about it, but hey, it'll be effective. They thank the sprites and make their way across the river and continue on. This was all about the fact that every time they've encountered the sprites, barring the first time, I'd say, they have always allowed the sprites to be playful. They've always engaged in banter. They've always been okay with them. They don't take themselves seriously in the presence of the sprites. And that's kind of the sprites' thing. If you take yourself seriously, if you're oh so very important, then they are going to tear you apart. I mean, humorously and harmlessly, but they're gonna be nasty to you. But if you are willing to play with them, if you're willing to humor them, they like you. So they've actually done them a favor. How the sprites know what the party is up to, how the sprites know where they're going and why is unclear, but they clearly know that they want to be disguised. And they clearly know that Touchberry was supposed to be disguised as a child, even though all he had done is take his armor off and stash his sword in the bag of holding, right? So he didn't look any different, really, except unarmed. They know somehow. So, on the characters go, and they do reach the northern edge of the grasslands that are east of Honeywood, and they find again the farmhouse. All right. Well, let's go. Door opens.
Can I help you?
It's the old woman. Yes. Do you remember us? We've been here before.
No, I don't remember any of you.
Of course not. They don't look like themselves. Oh, yes, we're disguised, aren't we? Okay. Do you remember 2 elves and a halfling and a woman who helped you get rid of what you thought were wolves but turned out to be a dragon?
Yes?
That's us.
You're not elves. Elves can't grow beards.
We're disguised.
It's an awfully good disguise.
Well, the sprites helped us.
Sprites, you say?
She's sort of, leery about the whole thing, but then they begin to tell her all about the event. Your husband showed us where a wolf had been killed, and you thought it was werewolves or wolves, and we went into the forest just north of here. We fought a dragon. We killed the dragon. Your husband loaned us a cart to haul the dragon away. And she begins to understand this actually is the people, or at least very good friends of them.
Oh, what is it you want now?
We want to borrow the cart again. Yeah, and some fleeces.
You want to borrow the cart and some fleeces? Why?
Well, at this point they figure they have to let her into their confidence, right? They were hoping to sort of just get the stuff without an explanation, but no, she's going to have to know. And so they take a chance. Maybe she thinks the Baron is fabulous. Maybe she didn't like the Count. Maybe she's happy with the changes. They're going to have to take a chance. Well, let's roll for it.
You're working against the Baron.
Yes.
The Baron, who has taken over Kilmarnock and now rules this area.
Yes. Yes.
Oh. I'll help.
They don't like the Baron. It just came down to essentially to a monster reaction roll, even though she's really not a monster. She's just an old lady. But anyway, it just gave it a reaction roll. She decides that she's going to help them. Great. Okay.
I'll dig out what I can. My husband has already gone into the village, and of course he took most of the best of our lot. We have the second cart. It's not as sturdy as the first one, but we do have another cart, and I could give you, well, these aren't the best fleeces.
We don't care what condition they're in. We're not actually trying to sell them. And they load up this cart. They thank the old lady, and they're on their way.
You'll bring that cart back when you're done now.
Oh, yes. We will. Off they go. They make their way down to that road, and there they make camp. This is the road which goes into the Elven Wood. It doesn't get traveled by people going back and forth between the elves and Honeywood. That really doesn't happen that often. It's mostly used by the shepherds and the farmers in this area. In fact, as the road approaches the Elven Wood, it peters out into a very, very faint track. Okay, but that's where they spend the night. The next morning, after memorizing spells, they split up. The 2 elves making a large arc to the south to avoid, being seen coming from the same place as this shepherdess and her son, while Touchberry and Foefire, with the cart, head to the eastern gate of Honeywood. As they approach, they see that carts and people are sort of randomly being stopped. And I decide they're kind of doing a spot check. They will check half of the people coming in, so it's even or odd. Oh, they're stopping them.
Oh, halt.
What are you here for? Now, Dagmar knows that these fleeces aren't the best quality, so she's going to play it like they're quite poor. We're bringing our goods in to be sold at market. This lot. We had a bad year. It's the best we have. Wolves got to most of the flock. Yeah, a lot of wolves around lately. Of course, these soldiers have been allied with werewolves very recently, so they take it quite lightly. What do you want to do at the festival, son? What's your favorite part? What's my favorite part of the festival? And so Touchberry's player is trying to remember what Alonur had said would be at the festival, and finally he coughs up, food! I like the food! Because it's an honest answer, that's what Touchberry would have liked best. And, Dagmar says, it's his first time coming to one of these, so he's not been before. He was too young the last few years, but now he's ready to join in. They're looking at him, he looks old enough. All right, whatever. And they check through the cart. They don't find anything. It's at the very bottom that they've buried all of the armor and all of the dangerous stuff. All right, in you go. Into the town they go. The town is heaving. This normally sleepy little village has tons of people in it. All the farmers from around, merchants from other communities have come in to sell their wares. Everyone in the town who lives there, who has anything they could sell, has set up a trestle table in front of their home, in front of their cottage, in front of their shop, whatever. And they're selling, eggs and needlework and berries that they picked in their garden or whatever, fresh pies, whatnot. Anything that could be sold is being sold. And they make their way down the hill, and of course Touchberry, can we buy some pies? Can I buy some? And Dagmar, Bowfire, takes advantage of it to say, no, Henry, no, you mustn't. It'll ruin your appetite. And Touchberry's chafing under this, of course. As they come toward the Copper Kettle, where the place is just thick, there are booths everywhere, and guards, so many guards, a military presence in the streets. There's a voice from the crowd. Hello, friends, hello! It's Alonur. She rushes up to the cart. I don't know what to call you. Henry, Dagmar, okay. Hello, Henry, hello, Dagmar! It's nice to see you, nice to see you. Oh, your spot is all ready for you. I can show you where it is. Come with me. She leads them through the crowd, threading their way through, under the watchful eye of guards, into a back alley near the wharfs. Of course, place is so full that even this is being used as marketplace, right? There's some vendors up there. And they find the spot, an empty patch of ground, into which they drive the wagon, unhitch the mule. We made it. No one saw us. I wonder how Bob Johnny and Fleetwood are faring. Fleetwood comes in, he passes the gate without any problem at all, he's not even checked. Bob Johnny, he comes in from the west, and he's stopped. All right. What are you here for, sir? What are you looking for? I'm a trader, and I'm looking for, and he can't remember the word vellum. And I don't hold this against him, because if he lived in that world, he would know the word vellum. So, vellum. I'm here to buy vellum. Really, what do you use vellum for? For books. He does know that much. Oh, really? Reaction check. This guard has a bad reaction. What kind of books do you make? Empty books that people can write in. Empty books people can write in. What, like monks and stuff? Yeah, monks and stuff. So they go back and forth for a while, and I do extra checks. Is he going to be convinced? And I'm getting a lot of, uncertain roll again, but on the hostile end of uncertain. But I make enough checks. Okay, yes. Eventually the guard buys the story, and in Bob Johnny goes. Now, he and Fleetwood are in the market, and down near the gates that they entered, the south and the west gate, down in that corner of the village is where all the sort of carnival stuff is happening. And so they really can't help themselves. They get into archery contests, they get into axe throwing contests, and they say, don't do too well. And I'm sort of inventing the rules for the games on the fly, the mechanics of these on the fly, just rolling attack rolls for the archery and whatnot. Rolling it on the fly, and they compete, and so that's kind of fun. We play games, and eventually Alonur finds them, and she's very good disguises. These are much better than I saw back at the... something happened, right? So she almost doesn't see them. They have to see her and wander up to her at first. So Eventually she corrals them, she finds them, and one by one brings them back to the wagon. Oh, you're looking for vellum, aren't you? I remember you. You were always looking for good vellum. I saw a cart come in earlier. The fleece isn't so good, but the skins are in good shape. You might be interested. Come this way. And, and then to Fleetwood. Oh, you're a wool merchant, aren't you? I know where you can get some good discount stuff, maybe useful for rough clothing. Come this way. She wheedles her way in and past the guards, and they all meet up. Alonur tells them that at sunset, the guards change over. The guards who have been patrolling the streets, who've been watching the village, they all gather at the town hall, and they report to the incoming guard. Watch this guy. If you see that person, she's pretty suspicious. They let them know, they give a report, and the new guard takes over. Now, there are fewer guards on at night because people are sleeping, right? People have gone back out of the village to their homes if they're local farmers, or they've gone to a room they've rented. A lot of the people who live in the town rent out a room. They've gone to the Copper Kettle Inn. They've gone to the farmer's field that's been set aside for camping. They go and they're in bed, right? They're sleeping. There's less mischief. Though there is, it's nighttime, so it's dark and things can be done. So there's still a patrol out. There's just fewer of them. But while they're all gathered, that's an opportunity, right? Okay. Because they have to get from where they are to Sulex's tower. But the town hall is between here and there. How are we going to do that? We have to walk right past them, right? And they keep looking at the map and trying to work out where they're going to go on the roads. And then Fofire points out, we don't have to use the roads. We can go behind the buildings and around through things. Oh, yeah. So that's what they do. They creep out at sunset as they see the guards turning away and heading off. They begin to creep between buildings, and they get to one of the main roads there. They look back and forth, nothing there. They dart across into the vineyards and the orchards behind the vintner's shop, and they head up the hill into the orchard. And under the cover of those trees and the darkness, they watch and wait, and they see some guards come down the hill who are clearly heading for that meeting, and they dart across the road over towards Sulex's tower. Whew. Now they are gathered outside of Sulex's tower, in a little woodsy patch outside, looking at the tower, wondering, how are we going to get in? They know that this place has been locked, and they figure it has probably been wizard locked, and by a high-level wizard, right? They look at the door. Fofire actually approaches it. It's dark enough. She's not too worried about being seen. She approaches the door. She tries to pick the lock. She says, there's not even any resistance. There's no physical lock engaged. It's just closed magically. They even see on the exterior of the tower where work has begun to begin tearing a hole through the tower. That means they are just in time to get whatever is in there. So, what are we going to do? Bob Johnny, in preparation, has memorized 2 knock spells. Does he want to try one here? He does not. He does not want to try one here because they figure there must be a way in from the top, right? And that'll be a better way in because it's up at the top, and the only people who can see us will be the soldiers up there, so we can deal with them. And B, maybe they didn't lock that one. This one's wizard locked, and we're betting that the wizard who locked it is a higher level than we are, so let's try the top first. All right. How high is this tower? It's a 30-foot high tower. Really? So if I cast a sleep spell and I centered it at the top of the tower, pretty well everyone in the tower except the ground floor would be put to sleep, wouldn't they? And they don't know whether or not it worked. The only people who know if it worked or not are the soldiers who would be up on the top of the place, right? Now, he did cast it so it could catch people in the tower, but they assume there's no one in there because they're still trying to break in. Okay. Fofire begins to ascend the outside of the tower. Now she has to make a check every 10 feet. The second 10-foot section, she very nearly misses it. She rolls so close to the target number, but makes it. Because I see you slip a little bit. You slip and catch yourself. Oh, that was close. And up you go. And when you arrive at the top and you climb over the parapet that surrounds the top, there you see 4 sleeping soldiers, cradling crossbows and spears. They're asleep. Oh, that's handy. She lowers a rope, and the other 3 clamber up. They also haul up their gear, and once they're up there, they begin to armor themselves. And they briefly discuss what to do with these soldiers. Should we tie them up? No. No, if we tie them up, then obviously something is going on. If we leave them here, right? We leave them here, maybe they'll just think they fell asleep. All at the same time? Well, maybe. Okay, we still have to get into the tower. Let's try. There is, of course, a hatch, a trap door at the top here. Let's try it. It's locked. Here's the thing. The Sodality sent 1 high-level wizard, like in the teens somewhere, I didn't bother to specify.
What?
And 2 assistants. The primary wizard, the lead wizard, locked the bottom, the main door of the tower. He had an assistant, wizard lock the hatch at the top. And that assistant was 4th level. So a 5th level wizard can open that wizard lock, knock, and in they go. In they go. Opens up, easy as you please, and down into the staircase, spiraling into the dark interior. They forget to close the hatch behind them. I listen for it. They forget to close the hatch behind them. Now, this could be a situation where I would say, yeah, they've thought about tricking the soldiers into thinking they fell asleep. They would have closed the hatch behind them, because they're already aware of the illusion. Clearly they're going to close the hatch. But the other half of me says, no, you know what? They make no mention. In fact, they actually describe how they're going in through the hatch, weapons drawn and all that. Nobody says anything about closing the hatch behind them. They don't. They leave it open as into the tower they go.